All right. The first step of any good live stream is to spam Discord. Oops, that's not it. Where are we at? What am I doing? Here we go. There. There we go. All right. Beautiful. All right. Hey, Rowdy Parks. What up, dude? How you doing? Hola. The Bud says, ¿Qué pasa? What up, dude? How you doing? Jennifer Mitsutani. Hello. What up? How you doing? Sun Man Moon Fan. What up, dude? How are you? What are these little things? There's like little, community leaderboard. There's a community leaderboard now in YouTube. That is super interesting. According to my YouTube chat thing, I think you guys can see the community leaderboard too. But it looks like, according to my thingy here, I don't know where you guys can see this, but I can see it on my end. The Bud is #1 on the board, tied with Sunman Moonfan. And then Keith Burnett is #3. Jennifer, you're #4. Evan Bassnaw is #5. Rowdy Parks, you're #6, dude. And then Princess Canuta is #7. I don't know how that stuff. Oh, Princess Canuta is here too. Hey, what up? How you doing? How are those calculated? How does that actually work, I wonder? I'm literally noticing this now, so I think this is like a new YouTube thing. That's what it looks like. I don't know. You know. Keith Burnett, yes, dude. Burnett maybe? Burnett. I like Burnett. Burn it. When in doubt, burn it. This is like what your D&D players do. You know, they're just like, burn it down. Dude, this is one of the lessons I learned early on as a game master was like, expect your players to try to burn it down. Let's just go full camera for this. So like basic DMing 101 advice right here. Expect your players to burn it down, to try to burn it down. So if there's an adventure location, expect them to try to burn it down, right? Like there's like the Thieves Guild secret base, right? Their hideout. They're gonna try to burn it down. So you have to think about that. What precautions would they have in place to prevent it from being burned down? The easiest thing is that it's made out of stone or brick or something, right? But if it's made out of wood, like what precautions are there? Do they have like magical protections on it or something? Do they have like a fire brigade on standby? Like, I don't know. I would think about that a lot because it's one of the players. But you know how you can, here's a easy tip too. This is something I've done as well. If they do just burn down the building, okay, so the inhabitants are all of them. They're probably going to grab some of their belongings and then they're going to run out of the building, right? But you could easily have a lot of the loot just burn down with it and be worthless and destroyed. I bet you when they find the remains of like magic items and stuff that were destroyed or whatnot, in the burned down building, that might be the last time they burn down a building. Just saying, it's something you could try. So I try to anticipate my players burning stuff down, you know. And the other thing too is the other thing you do is if they do burn it down, they have to face the occupants of the structure are going to empty out and they're probably going to be all together and they're going to start looking for whoever set the fire up, right? If they're nearby, they're going to find them. And then all of the monsters, all of the bad guys might converge upon the characters all in one big bang. I mean, it would more likely be a TPK if that actually happened, which is fine. You know, again, it's like, what would be realistic? What would actually happen? You know, and run that scenario through. Burning down the adventure location is I would imagine rarely a good solution. And so think of like the negative ramifications of that, and like what would happen if they were to actually do that. So it's just one of those, like, you know, actions, what are the consequences, you know, how does this actually play out type of thing. I think at least once I had players burn it down, and then that's exactly what kind of happened, you know. And they had this big huge fight with like all of the contents of, it wasn't a dungeon, it was like a wooden fortification or something, but they had to fight everybody all at once, and that battle sucked. They didn't die, they survived, but it was a slog. It was you're doing like mass combat in a game system that was not designed for mass combat, and it sucked. It was not fun. So sometimes the solution is to let something fail, because it discourages future actions, you know. Like if you do mass combat, if there's like mass combat in this instance, you know, and you're using the game system as is for mass combat, and it's a slog and it sucks and nobody enjoys it, well, hey, you know, they're probably not going to want to do that again. Now this is if you want to discourage it, right? If you want to encourage it, well, then you got to think of ways to make it actually good. But like, for instance, if you like, one of the things that a lot of times will bog the game down and make things not fun are lots of summons, right? Just tons of summons. One of the solutions to, you know, discouraging the use of tons of summons is to let it bog the game down. Let it make the game unenjoyable. So that way they're going to be like, yeah, we could do all these summon spells, but wow, the last time we did this, that fight lasted 4 hours and was just very sucky, man. Just, it was ugh. So then they won't want to do it again because they're like, that sucked, you know. So that's one of the ways to like discourage that type of thing, is just to let it suck. Let them feel the pain of it, you know. I've done that before, and other things too, you know. Something that you just is not fun, you let it suck. Like they once used the spell to pretty much kill every single monster in the dungeon. It was the forbidden spell, and I misruled it in my opinion. I now have a different way that I play it out, but they wiped out the entire dungeon with forbiddance. Everything was dead, and we literally played through an adventure of them going from room to room to room, and there was no combat. It was just pure exploration, and it wasn't very fun because most players like to have a little bit of combat in their games, and they had nothing, and they didn't have very much fun in that adventure. And so that was an instance of, all right, I'll let it work. And yeah, that adventure sucked. You just have to, sometimes you got to let it happen so they can experience why doing that is bad, you know. All right, so we just jumped the gun. Somebody got me going on something different. Okay, so this is a DM Q&A. You drop your questions, I'll answer them and all that kind of good stuff. We do have a giveaway going on today. You can win $50 DM Lair store credit. So there should be a link if our Nightbot is working. So there is a link in the description. No, there's a link in the chat where you can join the giveaway. We will. One of my cats is like bawling in the background. That's Squirty Pie. She's getting worked up. At the end of the live stream, we will draw the winner to the giveaway. One lucky person will win a bunch of money to go spend on our store. One of the things that we currently have on our store, this is like our featured product bundle today, is this right here. We have something called the DM Lair Ultimate Collection. The Ultimate Collection. There's a link in the description. There's a link. I'll put a link in a pinned comment too for people who watch this after the fact. But it'll get you everything we currently have. Everything except for Lairs and Legends 2. That's not part of the bundle quite yet. We'll add it to the bundle sometime in the future, but not yet. But you'll get everything. Everything you see here. Which is pretty much almost all of our printed products. So we have the Game Master screen, which is like this. Where's this beautiful unfold, massive, beautiful artwork on the one side, and then the back side has the what do they call these, plastic sleeves. It's 8.5 by 11. It's a little bit bigger than that, but you put 8.5 by 11 paper in here so you can make your own Game Master notes. So it doesn't matter what game system you're running, you can customize it and put your own things in here. So this is beautiful. And then we have the Secret Art of Game Mastery. You got a lot of the advice that I've been giving folks over the years, all in this one book, 250 pages or so. And then we have Secret Art of Note Taking. Helps you, it's like the templates and stuff that I use in my games to take notes after my game sessions to keep track of like plot points and what's going on so that I can plan and not lose track of my campaign, because I run 3 different campaigns right now. Is that right? Yeah, I run 3 different campaigns. I got to keep track of what's going on so I don't like lose my mind. And then Secret of Preparation is a lot of the templates I use to prepare my games, adventures, and different things like that. And so these 2 right here are literally notebooks that have like, you know, template pages where you write in them. So these are very nice. And then I'm just like walking through everything you get in the bundle. And then you get Layers and Legends. This has 29 adventures, over 100 monsters in it. And then we have Loot and Lore, traps, puzzles, NPCs, villains, magic items. I think we have subclasses in here. Just a whole bunch of different drag and drop resources you can use in your games. And then we have Into the Fae. This is the level 1 to 5 adventure module that I wrote a few years ago. It's Fae themed. If you couldn't tell that by the name, then I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. But anyway, this is really cool. And oh, by the way, we're also launching the sequel to Into the Fae this fall. It's called Escape from the Fae. I think I even have like the screen up that I can show you. Right here. So this is Escape from the Fae. There's a link down below to this as well. You can follow this. It's going to launch on Kickstarter in the fall. We're targeting September right now. That may change. It might not change. But you can click the link down in the description. You can follow the project so you get notified when it launches. You can see, actually, let me show you the start screen right here. This is the artwork for the regular cover. So obviously it'll have all the little trim, the trade dress and stuff on it. But this is the regular cover right here. And then this right here is the alt cover that you can see right here. So you get your choice of regular cover or alt cover. You know, they're both amazingly beautiful. Brendan Lancaster is the artist for this. He does an amazing job for all the artwork that we ask him to do. That's the wrong thing. So anyway, you can go over here, follow it. This is going to have, so Escape from the Fae is going to have 12 adventures. I wrote all of the adventures. It has 12 adventures in it. They take you from level 5 to level 11. And then it also has about 100 monsters. I think it's over 100 monsters. Those were written by my guy, Zach Chaney. He's my employee. He does a lot of the game design and stuff for us too. So he wrote the monsters for this, designed the monsters for this. And then it also has 3 new races, 3 new subclasses, and there's like the campaign setting for the area that the module takes place in is included as well, with like, you know, points of interest and all that kind of cool stuff for that campaign setting. It's not like a full world, it's just like the area that the adventure takes place in, you know, so call it like a mini campaign setting or something. But that's all included with this. So this will be launching in September sometime. So you can follow that link below. All right. Let me move this out of my way. There we go. All right, so I think that was everything. We got the live stream. You got the giveaway. I think we talked about all the stuff I got to talk about. Now we can start doing questions. So if you asked a question, I'll go through the chat and look for it, but you're welcome to repost it too. So just to get my attention, because sometimes I miss them. Microvirus, what up, dude? We are ready for your arrival. You have arrived. Welcome, man. Keith says I had a party use fire in a village and promptly burned down the village. Yeah, that's spectacular. Any advice for first-time DMing? You got to be more specific. Let me put some context around that around that comment. I've been making videos for I think about 5 years or so, filled with tons of different advice, and almost any of it could be applied to a first-time game master. So if you have a specific area that you have trouble with, you're struggling with, or you're unsure about or something, like I can probably give you some information about that. But just the generic first-time advice or advice for first-time game master, like dude, where do you start, man? You know, I've been spending, like I said, 5 years of videos with just tons of advice. The thing I always say though, after I give that little spiel about like you gotta give me some context here. The thing I usually say though is just have fun, relax, and have fun. You know, you don't get too worked up and worried and anxious. You know, it's not that big of a deal. You're running a game. It's your first time. Tell your players it's your first time, right? So that their expectations are moderated, and they're not thinking that you're just going to be the most amazing game master in the world, because you won't, and that's okay. You should expect to suck, and then you won't be disappointed. It'll be okay. You're not going to be that good. Nobody's good the first time they do something. So don't expect to be super great. Expect it not to go super well. Expect there to be lots of things you can learn, things that you can improve, right? So your players are probably still going to have fun, which is the thing. You know, I feel like a lot of game masters, their expectations are way higher than their players. I think, I don't know, we tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we tend to think that we need to be super amazing and awesome. But a lot of players, honestly, are just happy that someone is willing to run the game. Because there are so many players that can't find game masters and can't find groups, you know, and or whatever, you know. So they're just happy that there's someone who's going to run the game for them, and they're happy to get together with friends and eat junk food and drink soda pop and other things that they might be drinking. So yeah, I would just relax and just do your best, and then just have fun and try to just keep learning and getting better. But don't get too worked up about it. It's just you're running a game, man, you know, and it's going to be overwhelming. That's just the way it's going to be, and it's going to be okay, man. You'll get better at it over the years, you know. Question, Bricky Tabby. Hello, Bricky. What's up, dude? Question, my players just defeated the first dungeon with Clarg in the Lost Mine of Phandelver. I have never read nor played that starter set. Let me tell you, I'll preface right now, disclaimer. How can I improve the fluidity of interactions in Phandelver regarding NPCs, buildings, and quest hooks? Oh, I can actually, this is a very generic question, actually. So I don't know anything about Phandelver, but I can tell you, I mean, I'm going to interpret fluidity of interactions in a certain way. The best way you can make your NPC interactions more fluid and smooth is to not worry about sticking to the script perfectly. So, in our publications, such as the ones you can see here, Layers and Legends, Into the Fae, our upcoming Escape from the Fae, I do a thing. When we write these things, and the writers that write for us, we all do a thing. We give you role-playing notes. There's always, almost every single area where there are creatures, you're gonna find role-playing notes in all DM Lair publications. And what we do for those role-playing notes is we tell you, hey, for the NPCs in this room, or for the creatures, monsters in this room, here are some role-playing notes, things you should know. These are things that they might tell the players. These are things they might do. If this, then that. If this, then that. We give you like a good chunk of role-playing notes for how to role-play that NPC or how to role-play those monsters. But here's the trick. If you are literally sitting here with this book open and you're trying to follow the role-playing notes verbatim as written, your interaction with that NPC is gonna be herky-jerky horse crap. It's gonna, your players, like, you can't do this. You can't have your players be like trying to talk to the NPC and then you're like reading the notes. Hold on a second, I gotta read the role-playing notes. That's not how you do that. That's not how you use role-playing notes in your games. Or, I mean, Wizards of the Coast doesn't really give you role-playing notes, but they sometimes, for NPCs, will give you like a couple sentences that tell you like what the NPC's motivations are or what they want or something like that, and that's the information that you have. Sometimes they give you like a big chunk of read aloud text for dialogue, which is horrible. Don't use read aloud text for dialogue. That's the worst type of dialogue you can have. So what you really want to do is, if you're using an adventure from a publisher who gives you role-playing notes, it might be a few bullets, right? What you want to do is, when you're prepping for your game, read them, obviously. Read the role-playing notes. Maybe the really important parts, you highlight them, okay? So I got a chunk of role-playing notes here, but the really important things, I'm highlighting them. And I don't highlight them in the book, okay? I print out the PDF, and then I highlight them in the PDF, all right? And if you're, like, all of the DM Lair products, you can get PDFs, which you can then print and then highlight if you want to. If you're most publishers will give you PDFs, Cobalt Press, Roll for Combat, like whoever it is, you know, they're going to give you PDFs, right? Most publishers. Now, if you're working with Wizards of the Coast, if you're using Wizards of the Coast, they won't give you PDFs. You know, you're going to have to do this D&D Beyond bull crap, but you can copy paste from D&D Beyond into like a Word document, I guess, and then print out the adventure. So that's what I would probably do if I were running, if I were running a Wizards of the Coast adventure. I'm not currently, but that's what I would probably do. And then I would highlight parts. But anyway, the point is to make your NPC interactions and your dialogue, your back and forth, flows more smoothly, be more fluid. You don't want to memorize the role-playing notes or all the notes. You want to just basically read over them, you know, have them fresh in your mind, highlight a couple really important things that you may want to make sure you get. But then during the interaction, you simply go with it. You don't look at the notes, you don't refer to things, you just have a conversation, right? You role play the NPC and have a conversation using the best that you remember. And you're gonna have to improvise, you're gonna have to make crap up, because your players' characters are probably gonna ask about things or say things that weren't in the role playing notes that you're just gonna have to basically like, well, the best I know about this NPC, this is what they would probably say. And then you're just gonna have that conversation. And you really, the best way to do this, in my opinion, for most of these sorts of interactions is to just talk in character. That doesn't mean you're using a special voice, right? Talking in character just means that, you know, you're literally saying what the NPC is saying. You don't got to change your voice if that's not your thing, all right? But talking in character is one of the best ways to have these conversations be fluid, right? And go back and forth. And then every so often you might glance at the role-playing notes, especially looking for the things you highlighted that you want to make sure you talk about or emphasize, right? Like, you know, when there's a little bit of a pause in the conversation, you glance down. Oh, that's right, I wanted to say that. And then you do it. You know, but that's how you make them fluid, right? If you're, and this is true for if you're using any adventure module. If you are constantly referring to this during the adventure, your adventure is going to be not as smooth. Your game will be herky-jerky. There's going to be boring parts, so your players are like waiting for you to read something or figure something out. So as much as possible, when I run a published adventure, I read it beforehand, get it fresh in my memory, and then I literally like I'm running Escape from the Fae right now for my patrons, and we played a game session last Saturday, and the adventure that we're running is called, what is it called? Echoes of the Whispering Depths or something? I forget what it's called. It's adventure 4 in the book, but we're playing it right now. And before the game session, like I literally read through the entire adventure, refreshed things in my memory. Now, I had already read, well, I designed the adventure, first of all, and I had already read a few weeks ago the adventure and highlighted stuff. Before the game session, I reread the entire adventure and took note of the parts I highlighted. I refreshed my memory of everything. Now, there's no way that they're going to get through the entire adventure in one game session, right? I think this is probably the second game session we've been running that adventure, but I got everything fresh in my brain so that during the game, I could just kind of do it. I could run the game as smoothly as possible. I'm sure you're always going to refer to your notes from time to time, right? But the more you have it fresh in your brain, the smoother your game is going to be. And I'm going to tell you, I really feel like having a smooth game that just flows and things are happening and you're just adjudicating, you're doing stuff and things are happening. Things are constantly happening, right? And it doesn't mean like high adventure, crazy stuff. It's just something's happening. The game is moving forward. That is a huge thing that will elevate your game from so many others. I can't tell you how many times I have been in a game shop and I'll see a table and or this could be a convention for that matter. Conventions tend to be a little bit better, in all honesty. I feel like when a game master is running a game at a convention, they prepare a whole lot better. And so most of the time when I see a convention game, they tend to be much smoother because the game masters are like, I'm running for strangers, and they're prepping a lot better. But when I go to game shops, I see this a lot. I'll see groups that are clearly running D&D, or maybe it's Pathfinder 2, or it's some sort of TTRPG game, because I can see their books and stuff. And like nothing's happening at the game table. Nothing's happening. It's just kind of like there's a little bit of talk going on and stuff, but you can just tell, like you get the vibe from the table and you observe a little bit and listen a little bit, and you can just tell that that game is just crawling along for whatever reason. Like the action isn't being pushed. There isn't forward progress on what's going on. It just sits there. Now, whether that's because the game master isn't prepared or because the game master doesn't know how to keep things moving and prompt the players, you know, what would you guys like to do? What would you guys like to do? So what are you doing? John, what would you like to do? Timmy, what are you doing? Samantha, what are you doing? Like, but I get this sense, I look at these games and I'm just like, what is going on here? They're just sitting here, man. How are they having fun? They're just sitting here. I don't know. Maybe they like pizza. But so running a smooth game and keeping things going is huge for elevating your game above others. Copper 96, hello. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that, dude. Oh, all right. So, oh yeah, we're answering questions. Okay, so drop your questions below. If I missed your question, feel free to repost it. I just went on a long tirade and probably missed bunches of questions. So we do have our next Kickstarter, Escape from the Fae, is launching this fall, probably in September. There's a link down in the description, the chat, the pinned comment, where you can go over to Kickstarter and follow it. It is a level 5 to 11 adventure module. It features lots of Fae creatures and cool stuff. It's the sequel to Into the Fae, so it's the sequel to this one right here. I wrote all the adventures, and my dude Zach designed all of the monsters in Escape from the Fae. And so it's a level 5 to 11. There are 12 adventures in it. There are 3 subclasses. There are 3 new races. And what else is in there? Oh, there's like 100 or over 100 monsters in it as well. So it's gonna be a pretty big beefy boy, I think. There's gonna be a lot of crap in there, and it's all Fae themed. So it's a continuation of Escape into the Fae, so it's Fae themed. And what was the other thing I was gonna say? It's compatible for D&D 5th edition, both 2014 and 2024. So we've had enough now that the full rule sets are released for, like, you know, all 3 core books for 2024. We've had enough time to analyze and look at all that stuff and look at the math and all these things to get a good feel. And we're running D&D 5th edition 2024 games too. We've had enough time to get a good feel for this stuff and look at it and, you know, analyze it to actually be able to, you know, confidently be able to publish something that will work well for 2024. I don't know, I feel bad. There were lots of projects from last year that were like launching and they were saying it was going to be compatible with 2024, but they didn't even have the source books yet. And so I have no idea how they managed to pull that off. Maybe they have connections with Wizards that I don't, and they were able to get, you know, stuff early or something. I have no idea. But we don't, and so but now that we have all the source books, we can actually give you a 2024, you know, compatibility stamp of approval type thing. So anyway, that's coming in probably September, but there's a link you can follow and all that kind of good stuff. Also, our product of the day is our DM Lair Ultimate Collection. You get all of these books, plus the PDFs and everything. There's a link down in the description, chat, and all that kind of crap. If you use the discount code Ultimate511, you get 15% off of everything in this bundle too. This bundle has all of the books that we've published except for Lairs and Legends 2 and Loot and Lore 2. Those ones are not in the bundle. They're not going to be in the bundle for a while, but you can get almost everything here. And then Loot and Lore 2 and Lairs and Legends 2 are on our store if you want to buy them, but they're not quite in the bundle yet. But anyway, you can go check that out if you want. And then we have a giveaway going on too. Join the giveaway. There's a link in the chat. Join the giveaway. We'll draw the winner to the giveaway at the end of the live stream. Daniel McGuffey says, what is your dungeon philosophy and what is your opinion on 5-room dungeons? So I think 5-room dungeons it's a good concept. It's a good game plan. It's a good, the thing that the 5-room dungeon, it's a good philosophy in so much that it has checkboxes. If you include these things, your game is going to be more interesting. I literally have an adventure template. I'm gonna pull up my adventure template because it includes a 5-room dungeon in the adventure template. I just have to remember where I put it. It's probably right here. Where is my adventure template? This is the template I use for almost all the adventures that I create. Where's my adventure template? Templates. Adventure template, here we go. I'm just gonna show you my adventure template because I literally have in it the 5-room dungeon concept because I do refer to it. Here we go, I can share my screen right here. All right, so this is my adventure template. By the way, my adventure template is available on the dmlair.com. If you just go over to our website, thedmlair.com, and then do a search, there's like a little magnifying glass where you can search. If you type in adventure template, you can find our template and use it if you want to, or just reference or whatever. But I have the 5-room dungeon stuff on here, you know, because it's a useful reference. Entrance and guardian, puzzle or social interaction, a trick or a setback, a big battle, climax conflict, and a plot twist. Like, these are all things, like, I don't think, look, if I'm designing an adventure, this is not all I'm gonna have in the adventure. This is not, for me, this might be enough content to take up one game session, but it's not what I would consider to be a fulfilling adventure. There's not enough content here. There's not enough happening, okay? There aren't enough encounters, you know, like, it's just not, it's not satisfying to only do 5-room dungeon, to have these 5 things. So for me, an adventure needs to have more meat to it. But the things in a 5-room dungeon are very good things to have in your adventure. You know, an entrance and a guardian, that's like a little mook fight basically. And then you're gonna have a big battle, a climax later on. A puzzle and a social interaction gives you, it hits on a different pillar of the game, right? So you have the combat pillar, and now you have puzzle. A puzzle would be an exploration pillar, and then social interaction is the social interaction pillar. You know, the talky bits that most people erroneously refer to as role playing, when the entire game, of course, is role playing. And then you have a trick or a setback. So the idea of a setback is something happens where the players think they're making good forward progress, but then, oh crap, something happens. You see this a lot in movies. There's always a setback in movies. Think about your romantic comedy, your standard romantic comedy. There's a point where the two people are like growing close together, they're falling in love, you know, but then there's a setback. The guy might have lied about who he actually was to get the girl interested in him. But then, and he's about to tell her, but she finds out from somebody else. And then she's mad and she leaves him. That's a setback. That's your classic romantic comedy setback. I don't know why I'm using an example from romantic comedies. It's what came to my mind initially. All right, but that's the idea of a setback. So if there's a way to include a setback, that's great. Now, setbacks might happen organically. A setback might be a player dies, right? Or a player goes down to 0, you know, or something else might happen that's very bad. They might be there to rescue some hostages, and one of the hostages dies. And so I don't know. If you can get a setback that's cool, that makes it way more interesting. It's not always organically possible, but it's something good you can aim for if you can. Obviously, the climax is usually a big battle in D&D adventures, right? And then a reward. Your adventure should always have a reward. A plot twist, in my opinion, this is really, a 5-room dungeon should actually be like more than just 5, because you're always going to have a reward. But a plot twist, if you can have a plot twist where expectations are subverted just a little bit, where the players think the adventure is about this, or they think their goal is this, or they have something they think they understand, but then during the adventure, possibly most likely toward the end, they discover something different, and they're just like, oh, no way, I didn't know that. And then their minds are blown moment. If you can have some sort of plot twist, that will make your adventure better. It'll make it more interesting. You know, it can be really cool. And you can have plot twists during combats, you know, where they're fighting a bunch of mooks, and then there's a wave of reinforcements. That's the concept of a plot twist. Now, I would say have an actual plot twist, not just an encounter, you know, get, you know, reinforcements or something. But like when you are fighting mooks and you're like, oh yeah, there's just 3 of them, it's not that big of a deal. And then a door opens and 3 more come in, you're like, oh crap, things just got spicy. That's the idea, you know, you're raising the stakes, you're amping it up. you're making things more interesting. So conceptually, the 5-room dungeon has a lot of good elements in it. I personally think that if I were to only make my dungeon with 5 rooms in it and have these things, that would be very unsatisfactory. There wouldn't be enough meat in it. I think that most of the idea of a 5-room dungeon, if somebody's telling you to actually only make a 5-room dungeon, this is probably best used as a game prep methodology when you don't have a lot of time and you just got to come up with something super fast because you don't have time to prep. I would not default to this. I personally would not find this super satisfying if this is all I ever did. And my players probably wouldn't either. So I tend to develop some stuff that's much beefier than this, you know. I have a real problem with making dungeons. My dungeons tend to be too long. I have a problem when I design stuff. I'm just like, oh, this would be cool, and this would be cool. And it's like, it's awesome. You know, and then it's just like, crap, I got a long rest 3 times. What was I thinking? I guess it's not that bad. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but whatever. Bye, Microvirus. Thanks for coming, dude. All right. How would you make a 3-ring based circus dungeon, and what monsters would you have populated? I don't know what a 3-ring is. I don't know what that is. A circus dungeon? I don't know what you mean by circus dungeon, dude. I'm gonna pass on that question. I don't have the prerequisite knowledge, I think, or experience in specific terms you're bringing up to adequately answer that. Anthony says, question, what's your tips on making read aloud text for your games? How often do you include it in your prep? If not, what are some tips on how to improve descriptions or narrative? So, interesting. Well, I mean, I do read aloud text. There's a couple different ways I do read aloud text. One methodology is I don't create the read aloud text in advance. I just make it up on the fly. So I might have an area labeled as a kitchen, you know, and I might know that there are some kobolds in there. And then when we're actually running the game, I'll just describe the kitchen and I'll just make stuff up, you know. Oh, you open this door and there's a smell of like, it smells like beef stew coming out of this kitchen, and there's a wave of heat that hits you in the face as well, and you can hear clattering inside. And then looking within, you see 3 creatures wearing aprons standing on stools as they work at kitchen counters and stoves because they're not quite tall enough. They're only about 3 feet tall. So in order to be able to reach their workspaces, they're on stools. And every so often they have to get down, move the stool over, and get back up on it. You know, and there's like, you know, kitchen utensils and frying pans swinging and hanging from the ceiling from hooks and all this sort of thing. And off to the side, you can see one of the stews is bubbling over onto the stove, and one of these scaled creatures rushes over there to try to, like, you know, stop it from bubbling over and stuff. He's got a big wooden spoon in his hand. So sometimes I'll just make it up on the fly as I go. Other times what I'll do, and this is a like hack as well, if you want to use like ChatGPT or pick your AI platform of choice, you can literally go in, and I'm going to be doing an entire video on how to do this. This will be coming up in a month or two. But one of the things that I do too is I will get a ChatGPT session prepped with all of the information about my adventure that I'm running. Sometimes I'll prep it with all the information about a campaign. You can literally drop documents in about the campaign setting, about the adventure, about the monsters. I'll prep this chat so that it knows everything about my adventure that I'm running. And then what I'll do is I'll tell it, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm training it. You have to train it. And I tell it, I'm going to give you, we're going to be developing area descriptions. I'm going to tell you a few basic details about the area, and I'll tell you the name of the area. And then this is what you're going to do. You are going to create read aloud text that I can read to my players, right? And you're also going to give me 3 interesting things about that area that I might use in the adventure. And so then it will literally spit out read aloud text for you. And what you're going to need to do is you'll need to give it some TLC, change a few things here and there, and it'll often add stuff to there that was not in your prompt. And that then you can use that and maybe put it in, maybe, oh, this is, it said this thing about that room that I wasn't even thinking about. Oh, I'm going to add that into my area description. And there's actually going to be a thing that has to do with that, And then the part of my prompt is always, give me 3 interesting things that they could find in the area. Because I want there to be some exploration element in almost every single area. And some of, it'll give me 3 suggestions. I might use one of them. I might not like any of them, and I might make my own up. But you can definitely have it do this read aloud text for you, and it does a really good job. If you train it properly, and if you give it a good prompt, and if it knows enough about what you're doing, you'll be shocked at how good it is. You always gotta tweak it a little bit, but it gets you pretty darn close. And then you can literally just have like adventures with like read aloud text that you can just read. And the beautiful thing is that if you're running the game in person and you got it printed out, they're gonna know that you're reading read aloud text, But if you're running online and you're just like reading read aloud text, like they still might know you're reading read aloud text because it's a little too eloquent, to just be improvised. But they can't literally see you holding a piece of paper because you probably have it on a different monitor. Well, I don't know, maybe I have 3 monitors. So like when I'm running a game online, I have one of my monitors. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my monitor setup. Nobody cares probably. But like I got 3 monitors. So like one of them can have like my adventure. And if it has read aloud text, it's right there. And I'm just reading it. And they can't tell that I'm not looking at them, that I'm looking at the adventure. So anyway, there's some ways to do read aloud text. Yeah, that's good. That's good for that question. All right, more questions. Let's see. Blaze Winters says greetings and well met from Alaska. Ooh, Alaska. One of my Patreon players, he plays in the Ancient Dragon group, and we're running Escape from the Fae right now. He lives in Alaska. What is it? Fairbanks? I think he said Fairbanks once. Blaze Winters says, Into the Fae was my birthday present to myself. Loving it so far. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, dude. I wrote it. So that makes me happy. We are launching Escape from the Fae, which is the sequel to Into the Fae. There's a link in the chat, the description, all the good places if you want to follow that. And then it'll launch on Kickstarter in like September. So, Blaze Winters, if you're enjoying Into the Fae, you're probably gonna love Escape from the Fae, because there's a thing when you're writing in general or writing adventures and stuff, is you get better at it. So when I wrote Into the Fae, I was like, in my opinion, very amateurish, not like super great at this sort of thing. But now I've gotten a lot better. So Escape from the Fae is pretty slick. I think it's like way better. That's just my thoughts on it. You'll have to play it and then to decide yourself, I guess. M. Fabro says, what are your tips to keep the campaign moving if the players keep RPing, talkie with each other? You want to give them some space to do that, right? But you got to draw a line somewhere, because you could easily, like with some groups, you could, if they're total like, theater kid types, they could sit there all day and just do in-character talking among the group and not do anything that relates to like the campaign, the adventure, the plot line, nothing. They just sit there and talk back and forth all day. You can't let them do that. You can't. Like, you have to step in and move things along. I mean, maybe every single one of your players is content to never make any progress whatsoever in the campaign, but chances are there's some players that are going to want to do something. And even if every single one of your players is content to sit there and talk in character, you have to ask yourself, do you want to run that game? I sure wouldn't. Even look at if all say 5 of my players were happy to sit there all day long and just talk in character and not make any progress on the game, I mean, my job would be easy. I don't have to do any prep work. I literally just like sit down and be like, all right, guys, What are we talking about for the next 4 hours? And they'd start talking. I wouldn't have to prep my game at all. My life would be easy, but it would be horribly boring because I'd have nothing to do and just sit there and listen to them talking characters. So you have to ask yourself too, do you want to play that game? Your players might want to, but do you want to DM it? Let me make another point. Do they even need a dungeon master if they're going to sit there and talk in character for 4 hours? I submit to you, they don't even need a game master. You could just peace out and be like, guys, you just keep this conversation going. You're doing a great job. I'll see you next week. And they'd be fine. So I'd probably exaggerate a little bit, but I think the single best thing you can do is give them a little bit of space, and then be like, okay, guys, what are you going to do? What are you guys going to do? And then call them out specifically. Call them out. Tim, what are you doing? Samantha, what are you doing? That's probably one of the best ways to just break that cycle. You interject. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Chances are they're going to think about something to do. You probably are not going to get a response of, oh, I'm just going to keep on talking to my fellow adventurers. That's probably not the response you're going to get. You might. That would be crazy. That would be a riot. But more than likely, that'll break that cycle, and they'll start thinking about what they actually want to do. So I think it's very simple. You just ask them, hey, what are you guys going to do? What are you guys going to do? And be persistent about it. Once they've had enough time to talk, be persistent about it. Get things moving. If it were really bad, really bad, and they were constantly falling into that, I would probably take it a step farther and just do a timeout on the game and say, hey guys, this is what I've noticed. Over the last several game sessions, we as a group, and by we, I really mean you guys, because you're the characters, spend a disproportionate amount of time talking in character. And because of that, we're making no progress on the game. How do you guys feel about that? Are you cool with that? And just start a conversation about that. The point is you want to bring it to their attention, what's going on, and then just kind of talk about it as a group, and just get thoughts and feelings on the table. And then you want to also make sure, if you're doing that exercise, you want to make sure that you're getting each player's opinions on what they think about it, because chances are good, if you got 4 or 5 players or something, there's probably maybe half of them that are love talking in character and could just do it all day, but the other half, they want to play different parts of the game. They want to do the adventuring stuff and combats and whatnot. So make sure you get everybody's thoughts on it, because remember, you're running a group game and you want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to engage in parts of the game that they're enjoying. And you don't want the talky theater kids to bogart everything just because they can sit there and talk in character all day long, and do nothing. So those are my suggestions for you. Antonio, thank you for the super chat, dude. I appreciate that, man. My players keep stepping in and out of combat, and I don't know how to handle initiative. They stop fighting to roleplay without truly disengaging combat. So this is the way I would do it. You can't. So when you say roleplay, I'm going to interpret that as having a social interaction, talky bits. So you can talk and have conversations during combat. That's not a problem. It needs to be limited to something that's reasonable, though. So usually a round of combat lasts 6 seconds. So what can you actually say in 6 seconds? A few sentences, that's it. And so what I would literally do is I would just tell your group, at the beginning of your next game session, I'd be like, hey guys, check this out. This is something that I've noticed. During combat, you guys want to talk either to each other or to the enemies a lot. And that's perfectly fine. Having conversations while you're fighting can be done. But here's the thing. Combat round is about 6 seconds long. And so what you're able to say on your turn has to be limited, right? There has to be a limit to it. And the other person that you're talking to, they can give you a quick response of about 1 sentence, we'll say, right? Because here's the thing, if you have to say your bit on your turn in combat, and then the other person can't respond until it's their turn in combat, it might be 15 minutes before the other person can respond to you. They might not even remember what you said to them. So I would allow the other person or the enemy or whatever to give a brief response, one sentence, that's it, when it's not their turn. And then on their turn, they can say a little bit more if they want to. But I would literally have this conversation with your players and say, hey guys, if you're in the middle of combat, you can't talk a whole lot. It's going to be very limited, of what you can say during combat. And that's just the way it is, right? And then tell them that this is part of the rules and that this is how it's going to have to be if you're in combat. If you want to stop combat, then you need to call a peace, call a treaty, be like, hey, whoa, time out, guys. And then you need to get the enemies to stop fighting you. It's just, which might be hard. Of course, if the enemies are getting their butts kicked, they might be okay to take a breather too, and have a talk about it. So, but you need to start just tell them how it should work and then start enforcing the rule and just have it play out that way. Now, I will say, I never really have that problem with any of my players that try to do that. So every so often, I will allow an extended conversation in combat. Every so often. It's not something we do very much, right? Because it's not realistic, but every so often I will allow it as a one-off thing here and there. Because sometimes it makes sense in the narrative, and it also helps to move things along and resolve things. And it can also be a cool break from, if you've been having a combat for a long time, and depending on the game system you run, if you're running D&D 5th edition or Pathfinder 2, you're used to long combats. Combats can take a while. So sometimes having a little bit of a conversation is a nice break from combat mode. So every so often I'll allow it, but most of the time I don't. Mance says, when I have my players cross a river and the druid turns into a turtle, what is the best course of action? Is the best course of action to do nothing at all? Asking for a friend. Dude, that's eerily familiar. I literally have a video where I talk about the exact same scenario. I don't know if this is a tongue-in-cheek question and if you've already seen that video, but I literally had a time where we spent at least an hour role-playing crossing a river where the druid turned into a giant tortoise and was swimming people across the river. It took us an hour to roleplay that. Overall, that game session sucked. That game sucked. That dungeon master sucked. Many of the players sucked. It was horrible. He would allow the wizard, for instance, she would often take 15 minutes or something crazy on her turn in combat to decide what spell she was going to cast. And I'm not exaggerating by much. It was crazy. That was overall a horrible game session. And I only played it once. And I was invited as a special guest to it years and years ago. And never went back, obviously, because I was a special guest. But it was horrible. So yeah, if you're gonna cross a river and the druid is like, hey, I'm just gonna turn into a giant turtle and ferry everybody across, that's it, dude. Okay, cool. You do that, you guys cross the river, you're gold. And then continue journeying. Dude, the thing is, you gotta ask yourself, how are you gonna spend your game time? You only have 4 hours, maybe 3, maybe 2, depending on how you guys play. How are you gonna spend your game time? Don't you want to spend your game time doing interesting stuff, doing fun stuff, doing things that everybody's excited about? I don't know what that is for your group. Maybe you all love the idea of spending an hour role-playing crossing a river. Maybe that's where you get your kicks and jollies from. I don't know, but I'm not gonna spend my game session time doing that because that is boring as crap. Right? So I'm going to just hand wave that and be like, yeah, you guys crossed the river. And we're going to move on to the next important thing, the next scene, the next interesting thing that's going to happen, So I'm going to skip over bullcrap like that because it doesn't interest me. And it probably doesn't interest my characters, my players. So we're not going to do it. So there's your answer. Mance says it is tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, I was wondering. It's so uncannily specific. I was like, I bet he saw that video. Thanks, dude. I like that. It's just... I'm laughing so hard making Luke relive this awful moment. Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible, man. What was I was trying to think of something else from that game session. I was a wizard, and we were like oh, there was a dragon fight in that game session too. There was a dragon fight in that game session. That was probably, there was one thing that DM did that actually was good, that I remember being really good, that I liked. So, and it's not like this is like, high level advanced, like, oh my gosh, mind blowing. He did something very simple that I thought was very good. During the dragon fight, when we first started fighting it, when we did damage to it, he wasn't writing anything down. Because usually if you do damage to a creature, the game master is going to be like, okay, they're going to keep track of how much damage you're doing. They're going to keep track of the monster's hit points. He wasn't doing that. He wasn't writing anything down. And we were like, oh crap, we're not even hurting it. Oh crap, we're not even hurting it. That's what we were all thinking. But I think what he was actually doing is he was just keeping track of it in his head. You know what I mean? Mentally keeping track of it, which isn't hard. You got one dragon in the fight. You can keep track of the hit points are in your head. But I think that's what he was doing. And it threw us for a loop. We were like, oh, we're so screwed. But then at a certain point, then he started writing stuff down. And we were like, oh my gosh, thank you. So he did one thing that I thought was pretty clever. But most of the game session was trash. All right, more questions. Let's go. What are your thoughts about Cairn 2E? I don't know what Cairn 2E is. I don't know what that is. Sunman Foon Fan. I screwed that up. How can I make a campaign in monsters for said campaign? Setting and plot. It is taking place on a jungle planet, and I'm making the alien races invade for a to-be-determined reason. How can you make a campaign? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. You just start, I mean, I'm going to give you a really dumb answer right now. You just start making it. I don't know what else to say. You have the kernel of an idea for your campaign. Now you start fleshing it out. So it sounds like you need to create this alien race. So you have a jungle planet. Okay, so you need to know something about your jungle planet. You might need to start developing some world information at a high level, at least. You have an alien race. Well, you need to determine, what this alien race is. Get a cool concept in your brain, maybe some concept art or something. Describe what they are and stuff. Maybe even create the stat blocks, and then you got to decide why they want to invade. They have to have a motivation, and then you got to start to think about, okay, how are they going to invade? What are they going to do? And here I think is where you can really do something cool, because almost any time an alien race invades a planet, what happens? The spaceships come into orbit, and then the ships start coming out of the belly and they're attacking and they're blowing things up. Or the ships come into orbit and they slowly fly over all of the big cities, and then finally they open up big lasers that blow everything up. Think about all of your sci-fi invasion movies. They all follow this, most of them, the ones I've seen at least, follow this similar cliched invasion scenario. So what I would suggest you do, think of a different way they're invading, something that's cooler. Okay, so there's remember that Body Snatchers video, that Body Snatchers movie? What is it? It's called I think it's called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I think that's what it was. But the way that they implemented the alien invasion in that movie, and I only remember little tiny bits of that movie, so you're gonna have to cut me some slack here. It was a long time ago. Is they were duplicating people, they were cloning people, and they had a way to do it too. You'd go to sleep, and then tendrils would drop down from the ceiling and attach to you, and then there would be some sort of metamorphic cocoon, like quasi-formed, like, organism up in the ceiling or something. And then the tendrils would basically feed it information about you, and everything. And then that like, that ooze sac would turn into you while you slept, and then it would become a clone of you, basically. And they were replacing, the whole idea was they're replacing the entire human race, with clones. But when you go to sleep, the tendrils come down and you get cloned. And then I believe they would kill you then. I mean, I assume they would. I don't know what else they would do with you. But that right there, like, that's interesting. That's way cooler, than just like ships come in and the invasion happens. So think of a cool, interesting concept for how that invasion takes place that your players would then have to counteract, So there's some beginning steps, I think, to get going down that avenue. Besides just start. What are you talking about? That's a dead giveaway? Oh, okay. I think you're responding to something else. I thought you were talking about our giveaway. By the way, we do have a giveaway going on, ladies and gentlemen. There's a link in the chat. We will draw the winner of the giveaway at the end of the stream. You'll get $50 DM Lair store credit. Oh, Forgotten Realms setting is in a jungle. There is a Forgotten Realms. There is a part of Forgotten Realms that is in a jungle. That is correct. Read World War by Harry Turtledove. Great alien race and reason to invade. Just rework the names. Ooh. Colin Comics, hello, what up? Hey, he says, hey, new here, love the content. I was curious if you had any recommendations for module one-shots. Any tips on running one-shots are appreciated. So, I mean, I will say, this right here, this is a book that I publish, Layers and Legends. This has 29 adventures in it, and they can all be run as one-shots. We also have, on our website, thedmlayer.com, we also have Layers and Legends 2. I have the books are over on my bookshelf. I'm not gonna get them at the moment, but that also has over 30 adventures in that one, and they can all be run as one-shots too. So I would pick up either Layers and Legends or Layers and Legends 2. Both of those are filled with tons of adventures that can be used as one-shots. The ones in this one, the levels span from levels 1 to 15, the adventure levels. And then Layers and Legends 2, we have adventures going all the way from level 1 up to level 20 as well. So if you're looking for one-shots that you can run, you can do that. Also, I will say too, we also have over on the dmlayer.com, here I'll show you. If you go over to our website, so if you go to our website, you're gonna land right here. And if you go to digital products and then click adventures for 5e and Pathfinder 2, we have a whole bunch of adventures over here. And the adventure bundles, you're gonna get the most bang for your buck. And these are full of one-shots too. So you can click any of these, and it'll literally tell you the adventures that are in here and the levels that they're made for, So like if you're looking for certain level ranges, you can go over here and find out, this is like some lower mid-level adventures and stuff like that. So you can go over here and pick up. Now these are going to come as PDFs. If you want physical books, then your best bets are Layers and Legends right here, these two books, or Layers and Legends 2. These books right here. Those are your best bets if you want to get physical books. I love physical books. I always want physical books. PDFs are good for reference, but when I'm actually reading a book and going to use it, I want to have the physical book. It's also probably a good time to remind everybody that we have every single one of our books that we published is available except for Layers and Legends 2. We have not added that quite yet, but this bundle right here, the DM Layer Ultimate Collection, that right there is going to get you, where's my thingy? That right there is going to get you all of these books. It'll get you all of these books right here, everything, plus the PDFs and the map packs. You're gonna get, so like when you get these, when you get our digital stuff, you get all of the maps you need as well. So like not just the game master map that has the like area notations worked on it, but you get the ungridded map versions, you get the player versions, you get high res and low res, so you can put these things into VTTs of your choice, you know, and not have to like, I don't know how if you were running, yeah, anyway. So we give you everything you need basically. So DM Lair Ultimate Collection, and then if you use the discount code Ultimate511, you can get 15% off from this bad boy right here. Save a bunch of money. So there's a link down in the chat and in the description and the pinned comment where you can go get this right here. But directly answering your question, Layers of Legends or Layers of Legends 2, or where you want to start. Yes, Copper, there is a giveaway tonight. The Nightbot has been giving out links to it in the chat. Click that sucker and join the giveaway. Would my modules work with Whitebox? You'd have to convert stuff, dude. You know, like all the stuff that we publish. Well, we do have some Pathfinder 2. Our Pathfinder 2 stuff is all PDFs, digital content. But these books that we have, like Into the Fae, Layers and Legends, Loot and Lore, these are designed for D&D 5th edition. So, like, you know, would it work for Whitebox? Well, sure, but you're going to have to convert some stuff, you know, monsters and the encounters. Now, the stories, the adventures and stuff, yeah, that'll all just kind of work probably. But, like, you're going to have to do some conversion. It's true for anything, you know. If you pick up something for, like, Castles and Crusades and you want to use it for Whitebox, like, yeah, you're going to have to convert some stuff. It's not going to work flawlessly, you know, but conceptually, I mean, it should work, you know. Mance says, I own Layers of Legends 1, started running them as one-shots, now doing them as a campaign. Very good and worth the money. Don't just give your players the staff reward in Serpentine Hunt. Uh-oh. What did we do? Did we put like a really powerful magic item in there or something? I'm happy to hear you're enjoying the book though, dude. Jennifer says, that bundle makes me wish I had more money. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, don't get the bundle. Just get like something else. You know, you can just, I mean, we have other things. You don't have to get the bundle. You can go over here and just get like these 2 books or something. You know, we have a lot of books. There's a lot of stuff over here. You don't have to get the bundle. But yeah, you do save tons of money when you get the bundle. Mithril Game, by the way, if I have missed your question, please feel free to repost it. I often miss people's questions and you just repost it and nobody's gonna hunt you down or anything. Just throw it back in there. Mithril Gaming says, I'm about to start hosting my 4th ever D&D campaign about the Frost Giants returning and the coming winter set in my own fantasy world. Any tips? I mean, I don't know, dude. It's like a generic question, any tips type of thing. So I don't do very well at those, to be perfectly honest with you. I do much better at questions that are very specific. But you did mention giants, and I will tell you that giants tend to be very uninteresting creatures because giants are just big sacks of hit points that do damage. You need to give them interesting features, interesting things they can do in combat. Like a frost giant might have an aura of cold around him, and if you're standing in the aura, you take a little bit of damage if you enter it for the first time or end your turn there, you know, or start your turn there probably. So, or I don't know, or a frost giant might be able to create, like, as a bonus action, create a layer of frost over his skin so that it increases the armor class by 2, but also if you attack him, shards of ice break out and fly at your face. And you gotta make a constitution save and you take damage. And if you fail the constitution save by 5 or more, the shards get in your eyes and you're blinded until the end of your next turn, you know? And so, like, those are just examples, but you gotta make giants more interesting. They're one of the most boring monsters in the book. You gotta do something to make giants better. So, like, think of different ways. that you can spice your giants up. That I think that's the tip that comes to my mind that I think will definitely help you. The very important thing too is that remember giants are huge creatures. They almost all of them. They occupy a 3x3 space. Make sure your maps are sized appropriately. I ran so in Tales from the Yawning Portal, they have adventures in there that are called Against the Giants. And there are 3 adventures. One of them has to do with hill giants, the next one is frost giants, and the one after that one is fire giants. And I ran the one about hill giants in one of my campaigns, one of my games that I was running. It was a campaign, but I used the hill giants adventure. And one of the things I found out is that the map in that adventure module is not big enough to accommodate giants. Like, the giants could fit. That was the problem. The problem is that in most places the giants were creating creating choke points themselves because they couldn't get more than one at a time at the players. So there were many situations where I had 4 players that were frontlining against 1 giant. And I gotta tell you, because the giant's taking up 3 squares and its friends couldn't get in there, they might be able to throw rocks or something, but that's, they probably got 3/4 cover, at least half cover, maybe 3/4 cover, because there's a big giant in the way. And so they're trying to throw rocks. It's not super effective, And so you got 1 giant that's blocking the way forward for the rest of the giants, 4 characters who are teaming up against him and just beating the snot out of him. I crap you not. My players fought almost the entire fortress at once. And it wasn't even that hard, almost completely and solely because the map was poorly designed and it wasn't big enough to accommodate this sort of combat, right? They were easily able to just set choke points and just beat the snot out of these giants. And my players didn't even intentionally try to create choke points. It just happened because the map sucked. And I even had giants breaking through walls to try to get at the players, from different sides and angles and stuff. Because during the combat, this massive sprawling combat, I was like, oh man, this sucks. This is going to be a horrible combat, a slog. And so I had giants breaking through walls, and it didn't matter. It was just bad. It was poorly designed, and I didn't make any changes to the hill giants. I was using the hill giants as is. And so they were boring combatants to begin with. I've learned a thing or two, over the years. That was one of them. It's like the map's got to be bigger if you're going to have big creatures, and giants are very boring monsters. You have to spice them up. So there's a couple things that will probably help you a lot if you implement them. Magnus Ugma says, I have a cool idea for a supplement that I could publish for DMs and players alike. As an experienced content creator, what tips could you think of that could be useful during the process? I don't know. What do I tell you? What can I tell you that would be helpful? I assume you're gonna publish it somewhere, on DriveThruRPG. Okay, well, the first tip I can tell you is do not publish on DM's Guild. Do not publish on DM's Guild. Part of publishing there and the contract and the agreement that you sign literally gives away your own IP to Wizards of the Coast. Unless they've changed it, but when I originally read it a while ago, you give away your IP and they are able to use it and stuff. So do not publish on DM's Guild. That's the first thing. And also they get a 50% cut of your revenue, which frankly, if it's your first time publishing, you're not going to make any money anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But who knows? Maybe it takes off. Maybe it does bonkers. Do you really want to cut 50% of your work with DM's Guild, I wouldn't want to. Yeah, they allow you to use their IP and stuff as part of that, but no, I wouldn't do that. I would publish it on DriveThruRPG. You can get either a 60-40 split or a 70-30 split, depending upon. This is last I checked. I don't publish anything on DriveThruRPG anymore, so I don't. They might have changed it, but when I last checked, it was 70-30 or 60-40, depending on whether you were exclusive or non-exclusive in how you set up. So I did the non-exclusive thing so I could sell it on my own site. So I think I chose like the 60-40 split, which still sucks, but whatever. So go with DM's Guild if you actually want to publish the thing. And then, I don't know if you can make it really good and make it unique and make it stand out. And you're going to be artwork is going to be really hard for you because artwork is really expensive. But you can use stock photos. So, because people are going to expect, it's just an expectation that somebody if somebody is buying or getting or using a TTRPG thing, there's an expectation that there's artwork inside, and artwork is very expensive. So you're probably not going to commission artwork, right? For your first publication, I would not commission any artwork. You don't have the funds for that stuff, man. And you're not gonna. Even if you commission artwork, and even if it's stellar, the chances of it actually selling are very low. So I would not commission artwork. I would use stock work. I would use stock artwork from Deposit Photos is the one that I recommend. Adobe has stock artwork, but here's the problem. And this is a problem with a lot of the stock artwork places, sites. They are being inundated and overrun with AI art. And it is becoming very difficult to find anything that isn't AI art, which I would not recommend using. So the reason I recommend Deposit Photos is Deposit Photos literally has part of their agreement for people that are uploading stuff to their site, no AI art. And so you can go onto Deposit Photos and confidently search for and find and get stock artwork that is not AI generated. All right. So Deposit Photos is where I would go for stock artwork. And it'll still cost you something, but not like it'll be like pennies on the dollar compared to commissioning artwork. So artwork, that's how you get artwork. And then layout and design, like the meat of your supplement, whatever you're doing, you want it to be as good as possible, obviously. But layout and design, you're probably going to be bootstrapping it, doing it yourself. So just try to do the best you can. Microsoft, what is it called? So when I do layout, I use InDesign. I use Adobe InDesign, and then I actually don't do layout for our products. I pay other people to do layout for us. But I still know how to use InDesign in a rudimentary way. I would not call myself anywhere near an expert at it, but I know my way around it a little bit. But Microsoft has a layout similar to InDesign. I just can't remember what it is. What is it called? Microsoft, what the heck is it called? What is Microsoft's called? I don't know. Microsoft makes one for layout. I can probably Google it. Microsoft layout software. What is this thing called? It's not Visio. Publisher. Microsoft Publisher. There we go. So Microsoft Publisher is probably your cheap, easy to learn way to do layout for publishing a PDF on like DriveThruRPG or something. So just do layout yourself, do the best you can, and it's probably not going to look very good. What are you going to do? You're probably not an expert at laying it out. You got to do everything yourself, and so do the best you can. But at the end of the day, you're going to be able to get something out there for some people to use, you know. And if it's your very first thing that you're publishing, I would, if you're putting it on DriveThruRPG, I would either make it super cheap, like 99 cents, or just make it 50 cents, or just make it free. Just get it out there. You know, if it's the first time that you're publishing something, my goal would not be monetization. It would be getting an audience. That's probably the most important thing if you're trying to get into publishing stuff you make on DriveThruRPG or anywhere for that matter. It would be developing an audience of people that like what you do and like your product or products. And the best way to probably develop an audience that likes your stuff is to give it away for free. Yeah, it's like you worked a lot on it and stuff, but if you give stuff away for free, like you'll have lots of people that will grab it, right? Even if you charge like 50 cents or $1 for it, you'll have a lot fewer people that are going to grab the thing. And we're talking like, you're not going to make much money off from it anyway. So like, what's the point of creating a barrier to people getting the thing? I would give it for free. Unless it's like a big thing. If we're talking like a 200-page thing, like maybe then you rethink this, But I'm envisioning you're doing a little supplement that's like 10 pages long or something, 15 pages. I just give it away for free, and then develop like an audience of people that have gotten it for free on DriveThruRPG or whatever, that might be interested in the next thing that you make. This is like I'm always thinking like, how would you start it up if you're going to be trying to publish things long term? You know what I mean? I think developing an audience is probably is the way to go, before you start trying to monetize anything. Trinda says, Luke, in your games, did you design any central big cities from scratch in advance? Use a city in a pre-published module, or did it evolve gradually in-game after an initial general description? So I think I've done all of those. I've definitely used cities in pre-published modules, 100%. For a long time, I ran my games in Waterdeep in the Forgotten Realms, and I have the entire. There were actually in the second edition era, there were 2 box sets for Waterdeep. One was called Waterdeep City of Splendors. That's the one I have, and it lays out everything about Waterdeep. It's amazing. And then there was another one called, I think City System or something like that. I don't have that one, but I think it still had more information about Waterdeep. I think that box set was literally a city system. It was a system for you to design cities with. I think that's what it was about. But something tells me that there was a lot of information about Waterdeep anyway, probably given to you as examples would be my guess. So I've definitely run lots of big cities used Waterdeep as the big city that my campaigns take place in. I ran entire campaigns in Waterdeep. I think it's really cool. I like it a lot. I have also, like right now, my Shadowdark campaign is taking place right now in a city called Thunderhold. And I don't know anything about Thunderhold. All I know is that there are some docks. And I know that there is a Dawnspire Limited chapter house there, that they're like a merchant group that does some shady stuff as well. But I don't know anything about it. I am literally making things up as we go because I don't know. Actually, I now know the group will not be in that city for much longer because they have broken some laws in that city and they are now wanted criminals. The types of criminals that get executed. So they will be leaving that city as soon as possible, per what they've told me. So, which makes me happy that I have created nothing about that city because they're about to leave and probably never go back. So that city is completely being made up on the fly as needed as we run the game. And then I have also created a city from scratch in advance in pretty good detail. For my Pathfinder 2 game, there is a city called Frostmantle that was for a long time functioning as the hub of the campaign. Their quest giver was in Frostmantle. They would get a bunch of quests. They'd go do some stuff. They'd go back to Frostmantle. Go do some stuff. Go back to Frostmantle. It was their hub. right? They kept going back to Frostmantle, and I knew that that was going to be what it was used for. And so I fleshed out, I had a map I made, I did a random generator map thing online, and then I fleshed out a bunch of information about the different areas of Frostmantle, different inns and taverns and businesses. Like I have a bunch of content created about Frostmantle, just content, you know, so that I could, you know, as they went different places, I knew everything, almost everything. So I've done that too. Now to be fair though, Frostmantle was not a large city. It was a town. I don't know how many inhabitants, but it was a town. It was nothing the size of Waterdeep at all. So I've done all three of those things. I've done all three of them. And which one I do really just depends on the game and how long I think they're going to be in a city. If I'm not sure how long they're going to be in a city, I probably won't do much world building for that city. If I'm pretty sure they're going to be there for a while or it's going to be a hub, I'll flesh it out, you know? So yeah, I've done all three. It just depends. I don't know if there was anything else to your question, but I think I answered your question. Raharth says, what's the reason you suggest as strongly not to use AI art? Just wondering since you liked ChatGPT. So I guess it's not that you dislike anything AI related. No, I don't like everything. I do not dislike everything AI related. That is correct. AI is a tool. It can be used to augment what you're doing. It can be used to do your work faster, to do your job faster. There's a lot of different ways you can use AI. Now there are some ways that are considered ethical and some ways that are considered unethical. Right now, AI art, if you are a publisher and you touch AI art, that is very bad. You're looking at a death sentence right there. Right now, AI art is very heavily frowned upon in the TTRPG community as a whole. And if you're going to play around with that, you can be prepared for lots of people to not be happy with you, very, very unhappy with you. Artists are probably not going to work with you. So it's like, if you're like, well, I'm going to use a little bit of AI art, but then commission other artwork. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. You're probably going to have artists who don't want to work with you. So our policy as a publishers is we do not use AI artwork. We do not use it at all. We either use stock artwork that is not AI generated, or we commission real artists to do the work for us. Like these books right here, Layers and Legends, Loot and Lore, Into the Fae, Secret Art of Game Mastery, Layers and Legends 2, Loot and Lore 2, every single one of our books, we commissioned real artists who did all of the beautiful artwork for us. So if you are a publisher, you want to stay away from AI art like the plague. Just stay far, far away from it. Don't touch that stuff. It's not worth it. Just trust me. It's not worth it. Don't go there. And then I'm not going to go into like the ethical, moral reasons and stuff. I'm not going to have that conversation. It's been hashed out online. You can read about it. It's all over the place. So we're not going to talk about the here's whys and wherefores and wherefores and whatnot. Just suffice to say that if you are a publisher, you stay away from AI artwork. In the TTRPG space, it's just, you don't go there. Yeah. So, but like things like ChatGPT, like don't use ChatGPT to like write stuff for you that you're going to publish. That's not going to work. It's like, so how can I say this? You don't want to you're not going to tell ChatGPT to write an adventure for you and then publish that adventure. That is not that's not an ethical thing to do either. You know what I mean? It might brainstorm things for you. If you're running a private game for people, and you're having ChatGPT write read aloud text for you or give you, interesting things that can happen in certain areas. It's a private game. Who cares? Use the tool. But once you start to cross into the realm of I am selling this thing, I'm making money off from it, I am publishing it, then there are certain things that you don't use AI stuff for, right? You have to start either writing it yourself or paying other people to do it, So I don't want to get into a big, huge conversation on this because I think it's been hashed out all over the place a lot, and to be quite frank with you, it's one of those touchy things that I don't want to say the wrong thing and have people get upset with me, because it's one of those really touchy things right now in the TTRPG community and stuff that, like, if you fall on the wrong side of the fence or say the wrong thing, you're going to have people really upset with you. So I just know that I have a very clear delineation in when I am publishing something, I do not use AI artwork and I do not use AI to write adventures and other things for us. I either write it myself in some cases, or we commission artists or writers to write it for us. So if you're publishing things, there's a clear delineation there of what you do and do not do. Now, if you're using it for private stuff that is never going to see the light of day, never going to be published, you're never going to sell it, then I think it doesn't matter. You just use it. Use the tools to help empower your game and have fun and stuff. But I think that's pretty much the long and short of it, without getting into like the ethical conversations and stuff. Anyway, there you go. That's kind of like the answer, I guess, in a way. Nixit says, I was told black and white printing costs more now. Do you know why? He was a publisher and I didn't get to ask him. I don't know. It definitely does not cost more than color. That's for darn sure. But if the price in general has gone up, sure, why not? Prices are always going up. Prices are always going up. So yeah, black and white printing is going to cost more than it was yesterday. If there's a specific reason why it costs more, I'm not really sure. I mean, we've literally been getting quotes for Escape from the Fae from 3 different publishers, and the prices were, well, one of the publishers' prices was not what I expected. It was really expensive. But the other 2 publishers were about what I expected. One was our regular publisher who does most of our stuff for us. And then there were 2 new ones that we were getting quotes for, and they basically, well, the other one of the new ones was kind of what I expected, and then the other new one I was like, holy crap, that's expensive. But I know why too. I know exactly why. So I don't know anything specific about black and white in particular though. I don't know. Mythro Gaming says, good tips, thanks. It also helps that in my fantasy world, giants are about 12 feet tall and a lot smarter. So that helps this with the 4th time I have copy and pasted it. Sorry for filling up the chat. Oh, it's okay, dude. You're good. I'm happy to help, man. All right, I'm looking for more questions here. Waffle Streams, what up, dude? How you doing, buddy? If I missed your question, feel free to repost it. Not a big deal. What is your favorite adventure you've written? Oh, I have no idea. I've written so many adventures, dude. You know the answer you're actually gonna get? You're gonna get the first adventure I can think of, because it's the first one that I remember. So you're not gonna, like, if I name an adventure, I'm not actually gonna tell you my favorite adventure. I'm gonna tell you the only adventure that I can think of when I'm put on the spot. So it's kind of a non-answer. So I've just written so many adventures I couldn't tell you. You applied for university yesterday? Oh, cool, Waffle. I hope that goes well, man. Remember, if you are going to university, if you're going to higher education, study something that you can make money doing. Pro tip. Study something you can make money doing. And if you can avoid student loans, avoid student loans. Those will murder you. Those will murder you. Pro tip. And especially if you're going to take out tons of student loans to study something that you can't make money doing. Oh. My sweet summer child. As they would say in Game of Thrones. Digital marketing, Spanish, and generative AI. Oh, interesting. Agile Monk, what's up, dude? Welcome to the party. I'm sorry you had a bad day at work, man. Don't do English or history like me. You can't make money with a history degree or with like a philosophy degree. English might be a little bit more applicable, but you're gonna have to go into something like marketing probably, or be a teacher, you know. But I don't think you want to be a teacher. I don't know, man. I don't know if you want to be a teacher. That's right. If you want to be a teacher, you gotta be a teacher because you love that crap. You know, you're not in it for the money, and you're not in it for the gratitude. You gotta love that crap. Microsoft is ending publisher next year. Oh, wow. Yeah, just get InDesign. InDesign is almost the exact same thing, and it's way more robust. You do got to pay for that monthly subscription, which is like about $50 some. In Microsoft 365 is like $10 or something. So it's a big price jump, but InDesign gets the job done. I mean, InDesign is what almost everybody, professional publishers use InDesign is my understanding. Oh, yep, look at that. Angela says, I now work in marketing. Yep, you see? Waffle says, I tried to do an English degree way back when. I did not want to be a teacher. Digital marketing has big bucks in it. It could, yeah. Marketing. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like marketing. So you can have the world's best product, but if you can't market it and nobody knows about it, you're not making any money. So yeah, marketing is super important, crazy important. Like somebody was asking about publishing a TTRPG thing, and like one of the very first, like if you want to get into publishing, one of the very first questions I'm going to ask, or if you're like, Luke, any tips for me to become a publisher and start publishing my stuff and making money? Well, one of the biggest considerations is how are you going to get eyeballs on it? How are you going to market it? How are you going to get it in front of people? You know, I worked for 5+ years to develop a YouTube channel with an audience, you know? So when I'm running Kickstarters, I can just tell everybody about it, and like, you know, our Kickstarters do well because I've developed an audience, and I spent years doing that, making videos and stuff and having live streams like every single week, you know? And so like, this is how I do marketing, you know? But if you haven't spent years making a YouTube channel or some other social media presence, you know, then how are you going to do marketing? You know, you're probably going to do paid marketing, and paid marketing is rough and expensive. Like your return on ad spend is probably going to be 2.0 or 3.0, you know, so like your ROAS, so like you're going to spend like for every $3 you spend, you know, so like for every dollar you spend, you might make $3. So you like, or maybe $2. So like in order to make like, if you're doing a Kickstarter and you want to make $200,000, you might have to spend $100,000 on paid marketing, right? Like that's, if you're doing paid marketing, you got to spend a bunch of money, and you usually got to spend it up front. So where are you going to get that capital from? You know, so like these are questions, right? So like, yeah, marketing is super, super, super important. Like for anybody who has a product, marketing is crazy important. So I can totally understand why like that marketing would be a career, right? That has demand, you know? So yeah. Anyway. Waffles says, I love marketing and it's big money. So best of both worlds. There you go, buddy. There you go. I guess I didn't know that marketing people make a lot of money. I mean, it makes sense. Like if you can make bunches of money for companies, then you should get paid well. It makes sense. Waffle Dream says, I'm good at and enjoy hyping up things and getting people excited and convincing people to do things. Yeah, I like manipulating people too, man. That's why I'm the dungeon master. Manipulation. Adobe's raising the price of the Creative Cloud. Oh, nice. That's spectacular. I'll be paying for that. I have to. I use it all. I use Adobe crap almost every day. Trollers Games has an engineering series. They're working on a book for Metropolises. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. Matthew says, so Matthew in chat, he's in my Escape from the Fae game. And he says, do you think that we will finish playtesting Escape from the Fae before the Kickstarter launches? No! No, there's no way. Have you noticed how slow the game moves? There's no way. We're not going to finish the playtest, man. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're going to have to do, I mean, even by the time we publish it and print it, we're going to be running Escape from the Fae for probably 2 more years at least, dude. Our group just goes so slow, which it's not, I'm not complaining, you know. It's one of those, that's just what it is. It's a statement of fact, you know. But the playtest, our run through of Escape from the Fae will not be completed. So essentially what we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to extrapolate our learnings, you know, to tweak things here and there, you know. But, you know, and the difficulty, the problem with playtesting an adventure module is if you playtest an adventure module with 100 different groups, you will get 100 different results. This group will say the combats were all too easy. This group will say the combats were all too hard. This group will say, hey, this, and this group will say the opposite. Like that's the type, that's when you're dealing with adventures and adventure modules, playtesting is kind of like, oh man, what do you know, you could play, like I said, you could play test with 1,000 groups. And yeah, sometimes you're gonna notice some interesting stuff and some stuff that needs to be changed. But a lot of times you're just gonna be like, well, I think that was just group specific, you know? Like one of the adventures that we ran, like the group was like, what was it? I forget what they were doing, but it took us a long time to get through one adventure. And it wasn't the adventure design, it was what the group was doing. It was their approach to the adventure, you know? So I don't know. Yeah, it's rough. But yeah, we're never gonna finish, dude. It's not happening. What are your thoughts on Dragonheart? I don't know. Let me show you something. I have Daggerheart. They were, I forget the name of their publishing group. I can never remember the name of their publishing group. It's like a forgettable name for me. What's the name of Critical Role's publishing arm? I always forget the name of their publishing group. It's just such a forgettable name. It doesn't stick in my head. Darrington Press. There we go. Darrington Press. Okay, so Darrington Press was kind enough to send me an advanced copy of Daggerheart. I got this before it released. I think it just released, didn't it? Recently sometime. Anyway, I have it. And as you can see, it's still in the shrink wrap. Hey, I got it out of the box. So it came in a shipping box. I took it out of the shipping box, but it's still in the shrink wrap because I don't have a lot of time. And I have not had a chance to even open the thing, to even look at it. So still in the shrink wrap, still in the shrink wrap. That's all I can tell you about Daggerheart. Sorry. Nixon says, you have been running Shadow Dark. Yes, I have. Any tips on XP? I don't think I have any tips on it. I mostly just use the experience points system that's in the book. XP is basically, you get it from how much gold and treasure you get. And so I just give out, look, let me show you what I do. So for my Shadow Dark games, I'm gonna literally show you a Shadow Dark game that I run, one of my adventures. And I'll show you how I do it. I don't know that I have any specific tips for you, but I'll just show you something, and then, you know, whatever. It might be helpful. I'm gonna show you the adventure. We're gonna look at the adventure, and I'm just gonna show you what I do. I don't know if that helps or not, but I don't know what else to say. So this is an adventure I wrote for Shadow Dark, and so like it's got like, you know, areas and stuff, and alcoves. So like in this one, there was an alcove, and there's like a muddy torch worth, you know, it's not worth anything. So there's my cats are fighting. Let me find a place that actually has some adventure, some like. Okay, so here in this area, the cultist carries a bag filled with 200 silver pieces. That is like a normal amount of loot, so they get 1 experience point. So basically what I'm doing is when I'm creating my adventure is I'm just making a note next to the loot for how much experience points the loot is worth. And then if they get this, they get the experience points. And so throughout this, I do the same thing. Well, here's a hidey hole. Beneath one of the stone plinths is a hole in the ground that conceals a potion of invisibility. This is normal amount of loot is worth 1 experience point. And so I'm making these notes throughout here. You know, oh, here is like a bag of holding they got. I did a strike through here. So this right here, they got a bag of holding. That is a fabulous level of loot. So it's worth 3 experience points. And so really all I'm doing is throughout the adventure, I'm sprinkling in loot and I'm making notes about how many experience points it's worth. Because that way, when they pick it up, when they get it, I literally just tell them, hey guys, this is worth 3 experience points, you know, and then they got to get it out of the dungeon and they got to carry it and stuff. My group was, one of my groups was carrying wheelbarrows into the dungeon so they could load up a wheelbarrow with loot. And they literally had 2 wheelbarrows that they were pushing around the dungeon to put loot into. Because in Shadow Dark, you keep track of slots, is one of the things you keep track of, carrying capacity, you know? And so they had wheelbarrows that they were putting all their loot in. So that's what I do. I mean, it's not anything special. It's just keep track of it, you know? So that's all I do. I hope that helps a little bit. I'll get rid of that too. Agile Monk, thank you, Agile Monk, for the $10 super chat, dude. I appreciate that, buddy. He says, Daggerheart is unique. I have the deluxe special edition box. Beautiful product. However, you need to be an advanced game master or at least very experienced to be the game master and run it. And improv and flexibility is key. Yeah, I mean, I believe it. I was watching or listening to some videos that were reviewing Daggerheart. What was one of them called? She was talking about Daggerheart a little bit, but I was only half listening to it because I was also trying to get some work done. I don't have a lot of time for watching videos, at least not D&D videos. I watch other types of videos. I listen to them. I listen to them when I'm like brushing my teeth or something, probably. But the little bit that I did gather is that there's a lot of narrative storytelling type stuff that's emphasized in the system, you know. And I didn't catch how initiative works in combat. Like, it sounds like the players can just decide who goes whenever they want to go, but I did not catch how the game master's monsters take their turns. So, I mean, eventually I'm going to open it up and I'll figure it out. But I didn't quite understand how that worked. I'd be interested in knowing how that works, though, because it sounded interesting, at least. Because it sounded like combat was more exciting because since players could take their turns whenever they wanted to, and there wasn't a set turn order, everybody was paying attention to what was going on. As opposed to just like checking out for 15 minutes while everybody else took their turns. So it sounded interesting. So anyway, I'll have to check it out. Don't know a whole lot about it though. And the whole part about having to be an advanced game master or at least very experienced. Agile Monk, why do you think that is? So you've played it. It sounds like you like it. But why do you think that you would need to be an advanced game master if you're running Shadow Daggerheart. Because here's the thing. I 100% guarantee you that, I have a strong suspicion that the majority of Critical Role fans probably are new to Dungeons and Dragons, and that they were probably drawn into D&D by Critical Role, and so many of them probably are not advanced players or advanced game masters. So I suspect that you're going to have a lot of people that have never played D&D before getting Daggerheart and then trying to run it and play it and stuff. So if you're saying that you need to be an advanced game master for it, then it almost seems like they had the wrong target audience in mind, because if a lot of their fan base are not super experienced players because they came to the hobby through Critical Role, but then they made a product that you needed to be an advanced game master for, that, see what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm just interested in why you say that. Yes, Trinda, I'll have to let you know my thoughts on Daggerheart when I get a chance to read it. Yeah, I'll try. I'm gonna tell you though, the hard part, if I ever do a video on Daggerheart and reviewing it, it's gonna be really hard. I don't even know if I could do that video. I don't think I could even do that video, because the chances is that there are gonna be some things I don't like about it. And the question is do I dare make a video about Daggerheart where I might talk about the things I like, but do I talk about the things I don't like? I don't know, because that could get a whole lot of people angry. I don't know. I'm just thinking about rabid fans, that just like have the rose-colored tinted glasses and drink the Kool-Aid, because if I'm gonna review something, I'm gonna tell you what I actually think. And I don't know if I want to do that. And I do know a few things about Daggerheart. I was watching a video. I don't know if you guys know Clownfish TV, but there's a guy and there's a girl, but they do videos on RPG News a lot of times, and he was talking in one of his videos. He was talking a little bit about Daggerheart, and there was definitely some things that he was mentioning that I was like, yeah, I don't like that either. I don't remember the specifics though. One of them I do, but I don't want to talk about it. I know that there's going to be some stuff that I don't like, but I won't feel that I can actually talk about them because people will get really upset. So I'm probably not even going to talk about it. I don't think I'm going to be able to. It's one of those things where you're just like... So anyway, those are my thoughts. You're probably never going to know my actual thoughts about Daggerheart, unless I make one of those stupid review videos where you only talk about positive stuff and you never say anything negative about it. And you can't trust those review videos. You can't trust them. Any review video where they never mention any negative stuff, like, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. Agile has been a member of my YouTube channel now for 10 months. Thank you, sir. He says, who all on the chat owns lots of the DM Lair products? I know I have a legitimate addiction to them. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. I am happy to fuel your addiction. Have you already followed Escape from the Fae? It's another fine DM Lair product coming to you probably in September on Kickstarter. There is a link down in the chat where you can follow Escape from the Fae. Well, where is this thing? I had it over here. Oh yeah, there we go. So this is our next Kickstarter, Escape from the Fae. It's going to be launching a few months from now. It is a level 5 to 11 adventure module for D&D 5th edition. It is compatible with both 2014 version and 2024 version. It has 12 adventures in it, 3 new races, 3 new subclasses, 100 or over 100 monsters. Everything is Fae themed, obviously. It is designed as the sequel to Into the Fae, which is an adventure module I wrote a couple years ago. So yeah, go over here to the Kickstarter page, click this notify me on launch thing, and then you'll get notified when we launch. And we always have early backer specials where you save money on the books and stuff. Those usually go on for the first 3 days, and we usually have something really cool for day one backers as well. So when you click this and get notified, you'll get an email from Kickstarter saying, hey, it's launched. That way you don't miss out on all that cool stuff. This is the regular cover artwork right here. So you have like the queen below, the main antagonist up here, and a bunch of her minions and lieutenants, the adventuring party confronting her and stuff. So this is the regular cover. And then this artwork right here is the, what do you call it? The alt cover, the special edition alt cover right here. And both of these pieces, the alt cover and the regular cover artwork, were done by Brendan Lancaster. He is one of our favorite artists. He is awesome. So, yeah. Go follow that. Click the button. We're going to draw the winner to our giveaway here in a second, too. Wheelbarrows are as wide as a person, so they would probably always fit down a passage. Unfortunate Error says, I'm not addicted. I can stop anytime I want. Yeah. Yeah. We've heard that before. Trinda says, I've seen other channels say there are things in Daggerheart that they wish they'd changed from the playtest stuff. So it'll be homebrewed just like any other TTRPG. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't know. It's that... the things that I'm probably going to critique it on and not like are probably going to fall into the realm of like political type stuff and social issues and stuff, which people will get really upset about. So I'm probably going to keep my mouth shut about some stuff, if that makes sense. Any thoughts on the Baldur's Gate minis being so bad they needed to be refunded? I have thoughts on that. I mean, you guys all know about this, right? So, WizKids, who is the official, they're the company that makes the official D&D miniatures. They made Baldur's Gate 3 miniatures of like the main characters or something, and it was a lot of money. How much was it? It was like $50 or something for 7 miniatures. It was super expensive, and they looked horrible. They were trashy, very, very bad. So Kristen's Epic Adventures. Kristen, hey, I was watching your videos today. Kristen, I was watching your videos. Hold on a second. I'll prove it to you. I'll go to my video history. Where's my history? There it is. There we go. Where was this? You're gonna get to see the types of videos I watch. Is there anything in here that oh yeah, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna prove it to you. Have you guys ever watched Caleb Hammer? This guy's funny. He's a financial guy. He just rips into morons who spend their money because they're stupid. And they're just morons. Donut Operator is awesome. I love Donut Operator. Crazy cool police breakdowns. I watch a lot of finance videos. She's a finance person I watch. So right here, see? I was watching these videos, and you did one on, hold on a second. You did one on Daggerheart. I was listening to this one right here. I was listening to your Daggerheart video, but I was also working on blog posts and different stuff. So I didn't fully comprehend everything because I was distracted, and yeah. So anyway, there you go. I proved it. Anyway, we were talking about the WizKids thing. So, WizKids. Yes, they screwed up the minis for Baldur's Gate 3. As soon as I saw the news, I think I actually probably watched that on Clownfish TV or something. But anyway, oh no, I actually saw the news article. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that doesn't surprise me. I was totally not surprised by that. They how do I say this? How do I say this delicately? I have never been impressed by the quality of their miniatures. If you want substandard sculpts or painted miniatures that are like, you know, they have paint on them, like, you know, WizKids can help you out. If you want quality miniatures, like good sculpts, quality miniatures, you're probably not getting WizKids minis. You're probably getting something from Reaper. They make really good minis. Or I'm sure there are other companies that make really good minis too. I just don't know. Well, they all off the top of my head. But yeah, WizKids has never impressed me with. I've never been impressed. I've looked at the painted ones and been like, you know, my friend Joe is like, yeah, you know, I get their pre-painted minis, but like I touch them up. I view it as like a base coat kind of to get me started, you know. But yeah, I've never been impressed. I mean, it just seems like they're kind of pricey for a substandard miniature. I don't know. That's just how I've always. And they're super brittle. I once dropped. One of my players years ago gave me a bunch of WizKids minis, a bunch of giants, and I dropped one of them from about chest high onto carpet, and it broke. I've never had a mini break falling onto carpet before. Anyway, they were super brittle, so I've never been impressed by them. So honestly, when I saw the article about the screw up of the Baldur's Gates and the refunds, I was like, yeah, doesn't surprise me, because yeah, not super spectacular miniature quality in my opinion. How they are the official D&D mini producer, you got me. They probably won the bidding war, you know, like different companies were like probably bidding to be like the official mini maker, you know, and they bid the lowest. This is how you win government contracts. You bid the lowest, you know. Oh, you're going to make minis and you're going to do them for cheaper than the next guy? Okay. Actually, I don't think it works that way. No, because Wizards of the Coast doesn't actually sell them. WizKids sells them directly. So maybe that doesn't work. So then maybe it didn't work that way. I don't know how it worked. Anyway, whatever. There you go. Those are my thoughts on it. Sorry, WizKids. They paid the most money. Oh, that's right. There you go. They paid the most money to license and become the official mini maker. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yes, Kristen, I totally agree. I love painting minis. You can't see it. You can see a little bit of it, but this cabinet right over here is like the big cabinet, and it's about a third full of minis, just tons of minis. I love minis. Every single Reaper's Bones Kickstarter, I back it, and I get bunches of minis. I try to paint minis like once a week, but it sometimes doesn't happen. A lot of times doesn't happen, but I love painting minis. What I do is I'll put Netflix on. Like right now I'm binging Breaking Bad. So I'll put Netflix on, usually something that I've watched before, so I don't have to actually look at it. I can just listen to it and look up every so often when I'm in an interesting point. But I'll sit here and I'll paint my minis, you know, as I'm listening to like something on Netflix, you know, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. Get a lot of Netflix watching in, painting minis. You know, it's really cool. I enjoy painting minis, and I'm not too bad at it. They look okay. I can paint a mini and be proud of how it looks now. Wasn't always the case, but now I can be proud of how it looks. I'm not winning any competitions. not winning any competitions here, but I could at least put a mini on a board and be like, I painted that and it looks pretty darn decent, you know? So Kristen, if anybody's going to get paints, what do I use? Army Painter Speed Paints. Army Painter Speed Paints. Army Painter Speed Paints. Amazing. 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 It's a base coat and a wash all in one step. You use the speed paints, let them dry, and then you dry brush wherever you need dry brushing, and you're done. And you're done. If you do I always forget the name of it, but you guys know how you have a mini and you will you'll do like a base coat usually of like black, and then you spray white or gray paint from a certain direction to do like so that there's like the light source highlighted and then the dark areas. There is a methodology that's, I always forget the name of it, Zenithin, or what do they call that? Mini painters, what do you call that? Zenithin, or I forget what they call that. But there's a way of priming your minis so that you have it, Zenithal, there you go, Zenithal, I was close. So if you do that Zenithal thing, if you do that and then you use Army Painter Speed Paints, it will look amazing. And then you just do your dry brushing once it dries, obviously, and then make sure you do the base. Don't leave a flat black base. Those look stupid. Put some terrain and stuff on your base. Finish your mini properly, please, for the love of all that's holy. I hate it when somebody puts tons of effort into painting the mini and then the base is just black. Ugh, it's like barf. So anyway, Army Painter Speed Paints, amazing, crazy good. And they last forever. Holy crap. So yeah, that's what you want to do. I would get they have like big 64, or they have big boxes with like 64 different colors, maybe even more than that. I don't know, but they're really good. They're super good. Kitty litter, I do the same thing, Nixit. You know that too, because you've been around the DM Lair for a long time. And you probably were here watching me when I used to do, you can still find on my channel here from years ago when I would do live streams where I painted miniatures. And I shared my kitty litter method of doing the base. Absolutely, man. That's awesome. That's old school DM Lair right there. Nowadays, though, most of the minis I paint are Reaper Bones, and they usually have terrain bases done already. Like, you guys, hold on. I'm gonna find an example for you. See if I can find an example. I mean, it's not like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see these, but you can't really see them. But the Reaper Bones, they come on bases that have terrain on them already. And so all you gotta do is paint the terrain. You can kind of see it. This is simple cobblestone. Sometimes it gets more elaborate, but this is why I'm saying these sculpts are really good, because first of all, the detail of the sculpts is really good, but then they have terrain on the bases. So all you gotta do is paint them. And then if you wanna put like little bits of like other stuff on there, you can. But man, I'm telling you, Reaper Bones are the way to go. All right. We need a tour of the mini cabinets. Yeah, that'll be hard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna draw the giveaway winner, and I'm gonna go to bed. So let's draw the winner to the giveaway here. Drawing the winner to the giveaway. Okay, the winner is Red Pepper John from Illinois. Red Pepper John from Illinois. I will send you an email. We'll get you hooked up with $50 DM Lair store credit. Go buy yourself some cool stuff. Get the ultimate bundle or something else, whatever, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of kitty litter, how are the kitties? Oh, they're great. Kitties are awesome. They're all doing well. They don't come down here anymore. Now that I have a dog, they don't. You want to see my dog? Come here. Come here. Where's our doggy? Come here, doggy. Oh, yeah. Oh, doggy. So now that I have a doggy, many times, put your paws right there. Yeah, there you go. Just like that. Just like that. Yeah. Yeah. Don't lick me in the face. She tried to lick me in the face. So now that I have a doggy down here a lot, the kitties don't tend to come down here because they used to come down here all. And Squeaky wasn't here. Where's Squeaky? Where's Squeaky? You trying to lick me? She's trying to lick me. Yeah. Who's your good doggy? Who's your good doggy? Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm leaving. I'll see you guys. It's gonna be like toward the end of June. I'm gonna have a few weeks here where I'm not gonna be able to live stream at all, but I'll see you toward the end of June, roughly, and we'll do this again. So, see you guys later. Bye. Yeah, Kristen, it was good seeing you in the chat. If you're ever at one of the conventions I'm at, you gotta come say hi and crap, so we can like just meet in person and stuff. That'd be cool. So I mean, that's true for any of you. Like I always love meeting people at conventions. So, all right, guys, I'm punching the stop button so I can go to bed. I'm tired. In stream.